Hi, and welcome back to StoryPunch. This is a podcast where we learn how to tell better stories. Today we'll be hearing from San Francisco filmmaker Jason Johnson, who's here to talk about his new short film, Redress. I think you're really going to enjoy his interview, so let's get started. Well, welcome back to another episode of StoryPunch. Today we are talking with Jason Johnson, a filmmaker in San Francisco, and he's going to tell us a little bit about his film Redress. Jason, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you.
So just to start things off, could you tell us a little bit about who you are and where you're from?
So I am a Bay Area filmmaker. I am originally from the Chicagoland area. I moved out here to the Bay Area about 10 years ago, and I've been in making films ever since. I started working for Francis Ford Coppola, and then got some other opportunities, and then just got me to this point now.
What would you say made you choose San Francisco over, say, LA?
I actually, all this was, not really planned at all. I had a girlfriend, and when we were in grad school, I told her, look, I'm down to move wherever you'd like to move, but I really don't want to move to California. And when she got all of her, when she sent out her resume, the only place that came to call was, of course, California. So she got the better job. I didn't have a job, so I kind of tagged along. And I came out to California, to the Bay Area. And that's where, after 3 days of being here, I got hired by the film director, Francis Ford Coppola.
Wow.
So it kind of worked out. I can't put a finger on it.
Yeah, that's a great way to get started. So you moved here 10 years ago. How did you know you wanted to be a filmmaker?
I think from a very early age, I was really interested in just telling stories. Whenever my friends and I would go out and play, we'd always have like elaborate backstories to whatever we were doing. Whether it was like riding bikes, we would, make some kind of story that would have some kind of motivation in it. And you really don't need to have a story to ride a bike, but in our case, we just really like to have that story element. So I guess that carried on to me through high school, where I was really interested in writing. I got into drawing comics, and then it just kind of kept progressing from there. And just filmmaking was always the thing that made me the most happy, and the thing that made me feel the most alive, I guess.
Yeah, it sounds like you got that creative spark inside of you. So were there any films or books that strongly influenced the types of stories you wanted to tell?
I read Sidney Lumet's Making Movies. I read, Save the Cat. I think everyone reads that. I read a book called Moneyball. Tells you how to finance your own films. And then, I think I've done a lot of just research with, film journals or online media such as Film Independent, IndieWire. I feel like if there's a magazine article or just an article in general, then I want to read it to understand and see how I can further advance or get better. So I feel like I'm always consuming something to make me a better filmmaker.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let's talk about Redress. What is Redress about?
Redress is about a Caucasian family man and his nuclear family. He has a wife and a daughter. And one day his wife and daughter are killed by a black drunk driver. After the court proceeding, the drunk driver gets a slap on the wrist, and he feels emboldened to get some type of justice. And he later meets a neo-Nazi bartender who tells him to take the family of the drunk driver out. So that's the synopsis of the story. Very heavy. Very heavy.
Yeah, that sounds intense.
Yeah.
So where do you think this particular story came from, and what made it so important to you?
I don't really know. I think it came in bits and pieces. I'm a big believer in reverse engineering films. So I had access to a car and then a couple locations, and I was thinking that, what could I do here? And one day I came across a article that was talking about the rise of the alt-right and just some of the things that are going to be that kind of come out of that movement, and just for whatever reason it just clicked, and I sat down and I wrote it and the first draft in about 30 minutes, and then I kind of fine-tuned it from there. But that's generally how it started.
Yeah. So your movie is kind of about justice, revenge, racism, racial reconciliation. Why do you think you were drawn to these topics?
Well, I'm a black man, and I feel like I've been in situations where I've been a victim of racism. Um, I've known a lot of people that also have had those similar experiences, and I've also seen just in recent times, with the past election, it just seems like that's a narrative that is being pushed, and as a filmmaker, I feel like you really need to take on the tough topics and to try to tell a story to be relevant, and I wanted to tell a relevant story, a story that was that could help people and help us understand that we're more alike than we are different. So that was kind of the another idea, or kind of just something that was dear to me in telling the story.
Yeah. What was helpful for you in being able to tell this story that you were able to, keep a strong message about racism in it, but without, how did you make it so that it didn't come off as being heavy-handed or kind of like preaching to the audience? Where did you find that balance?
Yeah, that's a really good question. When I was writing it, the first couple of drafts, it seemed to lean to one side, and I always want to try to be objective as possible, because I don't think that this film is an endorsement for Black Lives Matter or for the alt-right. So I guess what I wanted to do is I wanted to try to tell the story as objectively as possible. So in the story, each family, you have your husband and your wife, and both of them have daughters about the same approximate age. In the story, it was important to me to show that uh, regardless of color, these are the same individuals and same types of families. They both come from a similar social setting. I even dressed the young girls the same exact way so that the audience could tell that these are both little girls. It's not necessarily a white girl and a black girl. These are just young girls. That was really important to me to tell a story that just wasn't really preachy, but gives the audience it empowers the audience to make a decision and to come across with their own thoughts in the end.
Yeah, I really like that approach. It sounds like you really tried to humanize the characters on both sides so that it's not just a simple black and white tale, but you're trying to say both these sides are human beings with their different issues. There's obviously political ramifications to the message, but really you're saying these are just people and they're both humans and they're both dealing with stuff, and yeah, it sounds like you're pointing to the common ground between the characters rather than one side being 100% evil.
Yeah, I'm sure you've seen movies like that where this person is good and this person is bad. But in this story, everyone that I know bleeds red blood, and everyone cries tears, and it's just like we're all we're all children of God, regardless of your religious belief. That was really important to me to tell that story objectively, and I think that we did it.
Yeah, so you feel pretty good about how things turned out?
I do. The film is we're still putting the finishing touches on it, so I have to do some sound mixing today after this call. And I think that as a filmmaker, you're really nervous when you're getting ready to put what you created out into the world. So when my editor sent me the rough cut, I couldn't watch it for 3 days because I was just so nervous. I was just like, oh my God, is it going to be bad? Is it going to be good? So, but finally I got over myself and I watched it and I said, oh, okay. I think we have something that we can work with and polish it up, and it'll be a decent project.
Yeah, that's gotta be a scary moment when you see what you've actually shot and you have to work with.
Yeah, because I crowdfunded it, so regardless if it's a bad film or a good film, I still have to show it, to the people that were so generous to donate the money. So, um, and that's a good thing, I guess. So, but you just have to get over your own jitters to make that happen.
So you had a Kickstarter for the film. How did that process go? Was there anything that surprised you when it came to raising money for the project?
I was really surprised. Well, actually, I had heard that it was really hard, but I don't think that I was prepared on how hard it was going to be. I thought that I needed to be in front of the computer at least 8 hours a day, every single day, to make sure that we hit the goal. And it was it was something that was new to me. It was the first time I'd ever asked for any kind of money in that kind of format, and it was really stressful because there's days that you make a good amount of progress, and then there's days where it's just flatline, and you're like, oh man, I'm sending all these emails and calls and doing all these posts, and it's just nothing. So yeah, it was. I don't think I ever want to do it again.
Yeah, it sounds like you endured through it. Yeah, that's got to be so hard to, makes you question your self-worth, like when the money's not coming in.
Yeah. And also it's not a really happy subject. It's not it's not a movie about tulips and bunnies. So that too also weighed down on me. So but I'm glad that we made it. I'm glad that the film's almost done. So we'll see if it was worth all the, the blood and tears and sweat, etc. So
Yeah, I feel like I need to know how it ends to really understand the film. I feel like the ending's got to be really important, but I don't want to have any spoilers for it so that people can watch it. But yeah, that's a really interesting concept and topic, and yeah, I think it's a very important conversation to be having right now.
yeah, I'm really I'm really surprised on all the things that are happening. I mean once the film was done, then we really started to see events that really make this film relevant. With the election happening, and then recently with the Charlottesville protests, and then just more recently with the St. Louis protests. It's something that it's become really relevant. So I'm really excited about that, but at the same time, I'm really sad to see all these things that are happening in our country.
Yeah, it's pretty heavy, everything that's happening, and yeah, I mean, there's no way you could have planned this film knowing everything that was going to happen. It's just pretty crazy right now. Do you have any advice just for how to approach difficult topics like race, and just any like principles for having these types of conversations?
Um, well, I think that you have to be yourself, and you have to. I think you have to stand firm in that. I was raised to be, not to see color, to treat everyone as an individual, and in that, I don't make an endorsement on what we were talking about earlier. What's right, what's wrong, who's evil, who's good. I tend to look at people just as people, and I try to tell the story that aligned with my beliefs and my thoughts. But for other people, I think that you want to stay away from trying to be preachy or one-sided, because I think a lot of filmmakers don't give the audience credit that they're intelligent, and they can kind of decipher between the two. So I think that you just need to be yourself and just try to be objective as possible.
Yeah. Well, I'm really thankful for your voice, both as, through your art that you're making and also just as a filmmaker, because you have the right to speak to some of these issues, and your voice is really needed and important. So, yeah, thank you for even stepping out and making this film about an issue that you care about and that really matters to a lot of people, because it's just such difficult times we live in, and yeah, it's important for people keep speaking up about it.
Yeah, it's and really, I don't understand why race is really a topic. I mean, it's to me it's really silly. I have white friends, black friends, Hispanic friends, all over. In college, I had the great opportunity to hang out with a lot of international students. So one day I'd be hanging out with Russian people, the next day with China people, just people from all over, and everyone is really the same. We have little nicks and things that make us different, but at the same core, everyone wants to have a good time. Everyone wants to inherently do the right thing. So to have all of these things magnified like they are now, it just doesn't really make sense to me. But that is the world that we live in, and hopefully this film can kind of ease some of that tension. I hope. So that's at least a plan.
Well, I'm excited to watch the film someday when it comes out. Would you have any advice for people who aspire to be some type of storyteller, whether it's filmmaking or writing or something else? Anything that you would just advise them to do at this stage in their career?
Yeah, what's funny about that? I just got I started getting a lot of requests from actors and other filmmakers in the probably past 3 months, and they want to collaborate or be in my next film or whatever. Not that I'm a big deal or nothing, but I just started getting a lot of these requests. But I noticed that a lot of them don't, they come to the table very unprepared, or they don't work on their craft. And I think that is the most important thing that you can do as a filmmaker or storyteller. You have to see what works and what doesn't work, because I think we have a culture where we want instant gratification, but that's rarely the case. Before I decided to make any film that I asked for any money, I made really crap films for 6 years that no one will ever see because they're so bad. But that gave me the confidence and ability to be able to know what's a good shot, what's not a good shot, to understand when we're running heavy or light on time, on schedule, etc. So I think working on your craft and just being very persistent as far as what you want to do will make you be a better filmmaker, storyteller.
Yeah, that's great. So what would you say is the best way for people to find out more about Redress and to stay involved kind of with your career in the future and what you're up to next?
Sure. You can look me up online. I'm pretty easy to find. My name is Jason Johnson, and Jason is spelled with a Y, Jayson, Johnson. And for the film, you could easily find it at #RedressFilm. And you should be able to find our Kickstarter. We have a pretty big existence on Facebook. We have 21,000 views and counting on Facebook. And, we're starting to get some coverage, thanks to you with this podcast. And then we also may be partnering with the NAACP for some screenings. So we're starting to get some good momentum, and I'm looking forward to getting even more. So
people can watch the trailer now on Facebook.
Yes. Awesome.
Well, yeah, thank you so much for your time today. Anything else that you'd like to add that we forgot to mention?
No, I just want to thank you for having me on this podcast. I'm very honored to, share this time with you, and thank you so much.
Yeah, and if you ever have another project in the future, you're always welcome back to share about that one, whatever comes next.
Okay, thank you very much.
Well, great. Thank you so much for your time today.
Okay, thank you.
That was Jason Johnson of the new film Redress. To find out more, please check out the links in the show notes. There you can watch the trailer for Redress. You can find Jason on Twitter as well as his Facebook page. Follow along with him to see where he's headed next. As always, thank you so much for listening, and until next time.